All right, it is NCAA Tournament first round eve. I'm here with Brandie, the Full Court Trap Podcast, coming here to talk to you about some possible Cinderella stars on the way over the course of these next couple of days. Opening weekend of the tournament, Brandie, that's when we see the most magic happen. And we got to talk about some guys that could be out here busting some brackets throughout Thursday all the way into Sunday. So I'll let you start it off. We've been digging into all the mid major teams out there in the field, all the relevant players they have. Who did you come away with as one of your big time breakout stars that we may see here in the next couple of days?
Yeah, I'm going with Demarion Williams from High Point. They're starting off playing Purdue, and Demarion is a wing for High Point that is lengthy and shoots the ball really well. He's shooting on the season from the floor 46.9% and is almost at 40% from three. So, really athletic wing that it can score the ball and can do it in transition like he has all season. He was in the Big South tournament a little bit quiet, averaging just single digit points. But leading into that tournament, he was averaging, or he had every game basically leading into that tournament with double digit scoring points. So that's somebody that I really am keeping an eye on in that game. And we've seen Purdue's defense lately kind of really struggle, especially in transition. And this High Point offense is fast. And it's really efficient too. So I think this is a player to keep an eye on. Keza Gifa is also a guard for High Point. That's their leading scorer, and he's super fun to watch. Not as efficient actually as Demarion Williams. He's only shooting around 31% from three, but he is their primary ball handler, and he kind of is the engine that makes that offense that people have kind of been talking about a little bit go. So I'm really excited to see mostly Demarion Williams, though, because I think that Fletcher Lawyer is going to end up being the person that's on him. And Demarion's 6'5", so a little bit lengthier than Fletcher Lawyer. And he just really knows how to get in the lane, and he's a good rebounder. So that's who I'm starting off with.
That's a good start. I will go ahead and do the honors for Mr. Blake Smith, who cannot be here with us. He picked Neek Clifford from Colorado State. I think that's a name that's kind of been making the rounds ever since the bracket came out there in the 5-12 game going up against Memphis. And this guy, he is a stud. He's averaging 19 points per game on the year, close to almost 10 rebounds a game as well. The Mountain West Player of the Year. He has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think that he's poised for a breakout run here in March. He's had 3 games now, actually 4, excuse me, I believe, of 20-plus points, and that includes a 36-point outing, 25-point outing, 26, and a 24-point outing. So he's on a heater heading into March, and that's a good sign because that usually tends to be the story of March. Who's playing their best basketball at the best time? Who's the hottest at the best time? And they're playing a Memphis team that, to be quite frankly, is vulnerable. We've seen this team struggle against really inferior competition before, and Colorado State is not a team that you're going to want to mess around with whatsoever because I think they're going to beat Memphis. I'm pretty sure on the Full Court Traps group bracket, we may have actually picked that upset, and I would not be shocked at all if it happens, and if it does happen, Neek Clifford is the name that we're going to be hearing. He's a first-round caliber talent when it comes to the NBA. I won't be shocked if we see him there at some point, but I'll give that one out there for Mr. Blake Smith, and you can give your next mid-major star that you're looking out for here.
Yeah, this is somebody who was a star last year in March Madness. Unfortunately, since I'm an Auburn fan, he put 28 on Auburn last year, and that's John Polikitas for Yale. He has returned this year for them. He's a senior, and he's averaging 19.2 points, shooting 45% from the field. And this dude made 6 threes last year, and Yale's upset over Auburn. And they're playing a defense that ranks 168th in three-point defense in Texas A&M to start the tournament off with, and Yale's three-point percentage is top 8 in the country. And so I really do think Texas A&M is vulnerable going into this game because this Yale offense really is one of the best Yale offenses in the history of this program. I think this Yale team is even better than last year's was. And I think there's a really big chance that he can become a 2-time March Madness legend to follow in this tournament. And he really, to me, like has improved from last year, which is kind of crazy to say. He was only averaging 13 points last year, so his production has gone up on kind of similar minutes. So it's been really impressive to see the year that he's had, and this Yale team continues just to break records in their conference. And their coach kind of talks highly of this Texas A&M team, but in his press conference, he talked about how they're going to have to shoot the ball well in this game. And I think the way to do that is from the perimeter, especially against the one spot that this Texas A&M defense feels vulnerable is behind the arc. So John Polikides from Yale, you guys remember him from last year. Maybe he can beat up on another SEC team that isn't mine this year.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe you'll get a rematch with him in the Sweet 16 if things crumble the right way. I don't know if Auburn
I would
fans
love
want to see
that.
that. You do want
I
to
want
see
revenge.
that? Okay.
Yes,
All the
revenge.
smoke, all the smoke. Okay, yep. I'm gonna give mine now. Small note that I did make. I made a mistake on Nick Clifford. He actually wasn't the Mountain West Player of the Year. I had written in my notes that he would have been the Mountain West Player of the Year if it wasn't for Donovan Dent. So I got that a little bit mixed up there. Everybody just disregard that Donovan Dent Mountain West Player of the Year. But Nick Clifford, he was
Memphis
right
fans are
up
going to
there.
find this now that you said that. If they end up beating
Yep,
them, they're like, this is
probably.
not.
Probably. It's all right. I earned that one. I was reading the wrong thing. But my personal mid-major breakout stars that I've been looking at, I called this upset on the group bracket. I don't think that everybody was in the same boat as me on this one, but that's fine. I was the lone warrior picking Lipscomb over Iowa State. And I think if that upset does happen, Jacob Ognosovich is a name that you're going to be hearing. He's averaging 20 points per game on the year, 8 rebounds, and about an assist per game on 57% shooting. This guy, he is a interior force. He gets to the basket. He can rebound, obviously, as indicated by his splits there. And he can also stretch the full floor. I mean, looking at his stats on the year, he puts up around 4 or 5 attempts a game, and he's hitting them at a pretty decent clip, around 40%. So I think that he's definitely going to have the potential to break out against Iowa State. And if they are going to beat Iowa State, then he's going to be at the center of that because they're going to need a guy that really steps up and can kind of get you a bucket against a team that's so good defensively like Iowa State is. Although they are vulnerable without Keshawn Gilbert in the lineup, we'll have to see how that affects the team as a whole. I think that it's possible that we could see an upset here. And if we do, remember the name, Jacob Ognosovich Lipscomb. My other one, Bennett Sturts over at Drake. Drake, arguably the best mid-major in the country. He's the Missouri Valley Player of the Year. He's got the Missouri Valley Coach of the Year backing him up, and they're playing a Missouri team in the 6-11 game that has not really looked the greatest as we've ended the season. They ended their regular season with a loss to Kentucky where they never really had any kind of control. And then in the SEC tournament, it was really kind of an underwhelming showing for them there as well. So if you're looking at this from a strictly matchup perspective, I think Drake might have got the best kind of 6 seed matchup they could have hoped for here. They're sitting at 30-3 on the year, and Bennett's been a big part of that, averaging around 19 a game, 4.4 rebounds, and close to 6 assists. So he's been distributing the ball. He scores at a good rate. 49% from the field. His last 2 games have both been 24-point outings in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. And like I said with Neek, the guys that are playing their best basketball this time of year, especially in the postseason tournament formats, those are the ones that you kind of look for to blow up and make their way onto the scene when it comes to upsets and making that Cinderella run. So Bennett Sturts and Jacob Ognosovich, those are the guys for me that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. There's some other ones out there as well that I've been keeping little mental notes of, but I'm just not super confident in their upset chances. Brandie, are there any players that you've also been looking out for that you think they're just kind of in a bad matchup where it's going to be tough for them to pull one out, but they still could have a respectable performance and maybe capture America's hearts just a little bit, even if they fall short?
Yeah, honestly, I think Max Shulga for VCU, A10 Player of the Year. I think they actually have a decent matchup too against BYU, and he's in his second season with VCU, but transferred from Utah State. And when he was at Utah State, he played BYU. And yeah, so I would say him. He's somebody who's a potential led the A10 in win shares, had the best plus minus box score, which doesn't mean all that much, but he had that in the conference too. Averaged 15.1 points, 5.9 rebounds, 43.6% from the floor, and just under 39% from three this season. And last year he actually was 41.5% from three. So this kid's a hooper. And also, if you keep up with basketball just in general, you know that there's a pretty big international wave of players in the U.S. right now, and Max is from Ukraine. So this kind of feels like maybe a scenario where we have an international player kind of become a star in college basketball, the way that we've seen that happen already in the NBA and across college basketball regular season too. So I like Max Gohlke. He's somebody to keep an eye out if you tune into that BYU VCU game.
Yeah, I kind of think when I'm looking at this, just teams that I think could possibly have an upset potential, but I don't know if they have enough. UC San Diego going up against Michigan. I feel like this is going to be kind of I don't feel like it. It is a trendy pick. Everybody's flocking to this upset pick. But I just kind of think that Michigan has them beat when it comes to overall size, Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. There's only one player on this UC San Diego team that's above 6'8", from what I've gathered. So it's a rather undersized team. But leading the way for them, Niwa Tate Jones. We talked about him a couple of times now. He's phenomenal. From Wellington, New Zealand, 19 points per game on the year, around 5 boards and 3 assists. He's got a 57.6% field goal percentage. Not really the craziest three-point shooter, but when it comes to just getting to the basket and finding his shots inside of the arc, there's not too many people at the mid-major level that are better than him. And I don't really like this spot for UC San Diego, and it's almost, there's the matchup part of this. Like I said, they're a little bit undersized when you compare them to Michigan, but it's also the fact that we have one upset every year that everybody just like flocks to, and then it just doesn't happen. We had last year McNeese, that was kind of the popular pick, and they ended up not panning out. And I've seen like everybody flocking to San Diego here. I think I've seen more people picking San Diego, at least in my inner circle, than actually picking Michigan. I don't know if you've seen some of that same energy, but this is a very trendy pick to keep an eye on if you're somebody that's pulling for UC San Diego to pull off the upset in your bracket.
Yeah, I think I saw John Fanta's bracket had UC San Diego going all the way to like the Elite Eight or something like that.
Oh, Fanta.
Sweet 16,
Nice.
Elite Eight. Like I think he had them upsetting Auburn in his. So yeah, it does seem like a really trendy kind of underdog pick, but it feels like this year there are a lot of those, and it kind of felt like that last year. Last year, like Drake and McNeese were super popular, and neither of those teams won. So there's always those, and it does feel like UC San Diego is that, maybe McNeese again, but I do think this McNeese team is better than they were last year. Yeah, but hey, I don't know. Maybe they can get it done, but I'm with you. I don't think that they have the size to overcome Michigan.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with that memo. But when it comes to McNeese, too, we mentioned that's a team that I've penciled them in as an upset for every single one of my brackets. And that was before the Will Wade news came out today. So just before we close all this off, transitioning a little bit, talking about McNeese and that upset spot. Do you think that the news about their coach departing after the season helps or hurts their chances when it comes to beating that Clemson team? Will it become a distraction, or is it just going to be a motivating tool? Because I think, honestly, this makes them more likely to pull off the upset because they know it's one last go around with their coach, and I think they're going to be fired up and ready to play. And this McNeese team, that's a team that almost beat Mississippi State earlier in the season, and they also hung with Alabama for quite a bit, so you cannot take them lightly whatsoever.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really sure if it is going to have an impact, because on the other side, Brownwell just got an extension that was a really nice one from Clemson, signed this week. And so I always feel like, coaches tied to coaching jobs are, I guess, actually accepting. And then like extensions always like don't bode well, but they're kind of both had their own like off the court distractions when it comes to that. I don't know the last time though that I've seen a coach commit to another school while his team was still playing in the tournament. And I honestly feel like he, after the Indiana job was announced, like he was like, I do want to take the next step. Like, and the NC State conversations had already been happening. last week. So I almost feel like I'm kind of with you to where like maybe that this doesn't actually impact anything, and his team knows that he's focused, and he's like, hey, if you guys go off in the tournament, come follow me to NC State and play at a Power 4 school in a Power 4 conference. It's almost like that could be used as like a motivating factor of like, hey, love you guys, y'all are awesome players. If you want to come with me to the next level, I'll take you there, and let's get the job done in the tournament.
It's really a unique situation because, like you said, I don't really recall a time that there's been a coach actively coaching in the tournament that's taken another job. I've been trying to think about this all day. I really can't recall any of them. I don't know if you can think of any off the top of your head, but I haven't came away with anything. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, we're going to see which one of these mid-majors brought their best dancing shoes and who's going to possibly spring an upset or two. I think that if we see any big-time upsets, it's going to come back to one of these groups of players that we pin down because there's a lot of potential here. Like John Polakidis, a guy that's been there, done it before, and more of kind of a secondary role with Danny Wolf there last year. Now maybe he takes a step up and knocks out another team there in that same spot. Nick Clifford, he's in a favorable spot, like we mentioned. Jacob Ognosovich, we'll see what he can do. Bennett Sturts and all of those guys. There's a lot of potential here. I like the list that we've compiled, but first round action is about to get started. We'll see how these picks age as the week goes on.